Okay, this is the homework for day 2, simplifying, multiplying, dividing rational expression. So the key to this is you have to be able to factor the top and the bottom for simplifying and then cross out anything that is both in the top and the bottom. So the first step is we need to be able to factor the top. So we're looking at factors of negative 15 that add up to negative 2. Remember, there is a trick in the calculator to do this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the factoring part because you guys should know how to do this by now. Negative 15 divided by x, negative 15 divided by x plus x. Oops, I got the negative. All right, go to the table. I'm looking for negative 2. Okay, so my factors are x minus 5, x plus 3. So the first step is to rewrite with the factors. Now I need to factor this one. So I have negative 5. Go to the table, and I'm looking for negative 4 this time. So I've got negative 5 and 1. X minus 5, x plus 1. Okay, now that I've factored them, I can look for common factors. The factor needs to be the top and the bottom. Notice I have an x minus 5, x minus 5. They both cancel out. So, simplified x plus 3, x plus 1. And that's as far as you can go. There's nothing else you can cancel out. Remember, these are added together. When things are added together, you can't cancel them out. So you cannot cancel out that x and that x. All right, let's go to the next one. So go ahead and factor the top and the bottom. You could probably do this in your head. Remember, I'm looking for factors of 2 that add up to negative 3. So that's going to be x minus 2, x minus 1. Again, if you don't know how to do that, then you can always use the calculator to help you with the factors of 2 that add up to negative 3. And at the bottom, the factors of negative 6 that add up to positive 5. So I'm going to use x minus 1, x plus 6. Okay, negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. Negative 1 plus 6 is positive 5. Again, if you want to do it in the calculator, please do it in the calculator. Okay, I'm looking for common factors. I have an x minus 1, cancel those out, which leaves me x minus 2. So again, the key is that you've got to be able to factor. If you can't factor, you are in big trouble. All right, keep going. All right, the top, negative 12, that adds up to positive 4. So I have x plus 6, x minus 2. Down here, notice I have the difference of perfect squares. I have 4 and x squared. So I know my, from factoring, I know that my two factors would be 2 plus x, 2 minus x. Now, notice that these don't perfectly match up, okay? Because I need a negative 2 here, and this is a positive 2. So what you can do is you can look at, I'm going to take this and we're going to look at this a little separately. I have the 2 minus x as my factor. I can actually factor out a negative 1. If I factor out a negative 1, that's going to give me negative on the outside, negative 2 plus x. Well, negative 2 plus x, keeping the negative on the outside, I can rewrite as x minus 2. So all I did, which is perfectly fine, is to factor out a negative 1. Okay, so when I factor out that negative 1, then I have x plus 6 times x minus 2 over 2 plus x, and then times negative x minus 2. This is a negative, that's not a minus sign. So now they match up, I can get rid of them. So that will all simplify to x plus 6 on the top. I've got my negative. I'm going to write that out in front, and I'm actually going to flip the order of this because you want to write your x first. X plus 2. You could distribute the negative in there if you want to, or you can leave it just like that. That would be your final answer. So remember that if you have something that looks like this, okay, that are very close, you can also always try to factor out of -1 to see if that matches up your term. Going up at the top here, you can also you can factor on another page. When they start to get a little more complicated, it's a good idea to try to keep things nice and neat. So in order to keep things nice and neat, I'm going to factor these two on a separate page. So this is number 4. And I need to factor 4x squared minus 12x. And I also need to factor 6x cubed minus 12x squared minus 18x. Okay? All right, so let's look here. I can factor out a 4 and an x. And that's going to leave me x squared minus 3. Okay, that's all I can do with that. And then over here, I can factor out a 6. Actually a 6x, because I have an x here, so that's going to leave me with x squared minus 2x minus 3. Okay, I want to look here. Is there anything else I can factor here, which I believe I can. I need factors of -3 that add up to -2. So I'm going to keep my 6x on the outside. That's going to give me x minus 3, x plus 1. Okay. Again, if you need the calculator to find the factors of -3 that add up to -2, then please use them. All right. So now this is my denominator. I have my numerator, so let's rewrite them. Oh, I made a mistake here. This is divided by 4x divided by 4x. So that's going to leave me just with x, not x squared. All right, so let's rewrite that. I have 4x, x minus 3 is my numerator. And then I have 6x, x minus 3, x plus 1. Okay, now you're going to look for things to cross out. I see it. X minus 3 I can cross out. I see an x and an x because this is multiplied. I can cancel those out. And then 4 over 6. Okay, so the 4 over 6. If you don't know how to do that in your head, if you do alpha y equals and then do 4 over 6, that will reduce to 2 over 3. So this becomes a 2, this becomes a 3. So I have, only thing I have left on the top is a 2, and on the bottom I have a 3, and then the x plus 1. And you are done. That's the final answer. Okay, let's keep going. Same thing. I'm going to go ahead and factor on another page just to keep things clean. Alright, so for number 5, I have x squared minus x minus 12 I need to factor, and then I also have x cubed plus 2x squared minus 9x minus 18. Alright, so this is going to factor to x minus 4, x plus 3. Again, if you need to use the calculator, please use the calculator to factor. But hopefully at this point you're starting to pick up speed and be able to see -4 times 3 is -12, -4 plus 3 is that -1. That's how I got that. Alright, I have 4 terms here. There's no GCF, so I know that I'm going to have to factor by grouping. Okay, that was x cubed. So what could I take out of the first two? I'm going to group these together. Take out an x squared. So that's going to leave me with x squared and then x plus 2. And I'm going to look to see what could I take out of the next two terms. It starts with a negative, so I know I'm going to have to take out that negative, and the greatest common factor is 9, so -9. That's going to leave me x plus 2. Notice I have x plus 2, x plus 2. So that's one of my terms. And then I have x squared minus 9. Always double check to see if anything else can be factored. This is the difference of perfect squares. So I know my x plus 2, I can't do anything with that. But since this is perfect squares, I have x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, so now everything's factored. I'm going to put it all together so I can see what I can cancel out. On the top, I had x minus 4, x plus 3, and then I had x plus 2, x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, what can I factor out? I say I can factor out that plus 1. Nothing else matches, so I'm left with x minus 4 on the top, and on the bottom, x plus 2, x minus 3. You don't need to multiply them back together. That's your final answer. Okay, one more. So we're going to factor this over here. So 6. The two things we're factoring is 4x to the 4th minus x squared, and then 12x to the 3rd plus 2x squared minus 4x. Alright, I see there's only a GCF, x squared, which is going to leave me 4x squared minus 1. That's the difference of perfect squares. So I have x squared, and then I have 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. Okay, that's all factored out. See if we could factor out a GCF. I can. I have a 2 here. So that's going to leave me 6x. Oh, actually 2x I can factor out. I'm going to factor out 2x out of each of these. So that's going to leave me 6x squared plus x minus 2. Alright, now I'm going to look to see, can I factor out something here? Can I factor this further? This is a trinomial with leading coefficient of 6. So we could try to factor this. I have negative 12 and I need it to add up to positive 1. So I still have that 2x on the outside. And let's see if we can find factors. Again, you could do this in your head, but if you want to look at the calculator, negative 12 divided by x, negative 12 divided by x plus x, and I'm looking in the table for adding up to positive 1, which I do, negative 3 and 4, 6x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 2. Again, if you're used to slip and slide, you could use slip and slide here. I'm using grouping. So I'm looking at the first two. What can I take out? I can take out a 3x, which is going to leave me 2x minus 1. And then you want to look at the next one. You can take out a 2, positive 2. So that's going to leave me 2x minus 1. Don't forget that 2x has to stay out here on the outside that we factored out in the beginning. So notice I match here. So I've got 2x on the outside. I have 2x minus 1 as one of my factors, and 3x plus 2. I know these problems are really long, but you can't factor. It's making it that much harder on yourself. All right, so let's rewrite so we can see what to cancel out. So I had x squared times 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, all over 2x, 2x minus 1 times 3x plus 2. All right, see what we could cancel out. I could cancel this and this out. I have x squared here, so that goes away, and this becomes 1x. Nothing else cancels, so at the top I have x times 2x plus 1, and on the bottom I have 2 times 3x plus 2. And I'm done. All right, so that's just simplifying. So let's add another layer to that. This says multiply or divide and simplify your answer completely. All right, so the first thing is I see that this is multiplication. When you have multiplication, the rule is just multiply straight across. If there's nothing to factor, and then simplify. So depending on the problem, we're going to change it up a little bit. So for this one, we're just going to multiply straight across. X to the 10th times x to the 5th. Remember, when you're multiplying, you add the exponent, so that's 10 plus 5, so that's x to the 15th. Y to the 4th, there's no y's over here, so that's going to leave me y to the 4th. And then 8, and there's a 1, so 8 times 1. All right, multiplying straight across, we have 10 times 4, which is 40. X to the 4th times, there's no x's, so it just stays as x to the 4th. Y to the 10th, y to the 10th. Now, you can start to simplify. 8 over 40, you do alpha y equals 8 over 40, reduces to 1 over 5. So do a piece at a time. X to the 15th over x to the 4th. Remember that when you're dividing, it's 15 minus 4. When you're multiplying, it's adding the exponents. When you're dividing, it's subtracting the exponent. So that's going to be x to the 11th. And then we have y4 minus 10, which gives me y negative 6. When I come up with a negative exponent, that means that we're just going to write it in the bottom, which is y to the 6th. So that is going to be your final answer. Okay, I know this next problem looks a little terrifying, but my suggestion is to write this so it looks less terrifying. That line means divided by. So really you have 10x to the 3rd y over 9x to the 8th divided by 8y to the 5th over 21x to the 3rd. If you see it stack like that, just rewrite it so it looks nicer. Well, we know when we divide, we multiply by the reciprocal. So 10x to the 3rd y over 9x to the 8th. We're going to multiply times the reciprocal. So reciprocal means we're going to flip the second equation. Now we can multiply straight across. All right, so now we can multiply across. 10 times 21 is 210. X cubed times x cubed is x to the 6th. Remember, when we're multiplying, we add the exponents. Y, and there's no y, so that gives us y over there. Okay, 9 times 8 is 72. X to the 8th, there's no x over there. And then y to the 5th. All right, now we can simplify, do the numbers first. Alpha y equals 210 over 72. It's going to give me 35 over 12. X to the 6th over x to the 8th is going to give me x squared in the bottom. And then y divided by y to the 5th is going to be y4 on the bottom. And that's your final answer. Okay, now we're getting some more difficult ones. All right, so the first step that you need to do is you need to factor. So you can take a separate sheet of paper. We're going to factor. So number 9, the 3 things I need 4 things to factor. You've got to factor top and bottom of both. 3x minus 1, minus 12. That factors to 3 times x minus 4. That's all I can do there. Okay, and now I have, so that was this piece. All right, then I have 6x squared plus 12. Right, so that I can factor out a 6. It's going to be x squared plus 2. Right? I have 2x minus 8. That's going to factor to 2x minus 4. And then x squared plus 2, which I can't do anything with x squared plus 2, so that's just going to be x squared plus 2. Okay? So I have here, 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 and here. Once I factor, I'm going to just rewrite the factors. 3 times x minus 4 over 6 times x squared plus 2 divided by 2 times x minus 4 over x squared plus 2. Now remember, when we are dividing, we are multiplying times the reciprocal. Multiplying times the reciprocal. So now I'm going to rewrite 3x minus 4 over 6 times x squared plus 2. Remember, the first expression doesn't change. Times, we're flipping. X squared plus 2, 2 times x minus 4. Okay? Now, the rule is that we can multiply straight across and then start canceling things out. When I say multiply straight across, basically we're going to put the numerators together and denominators together, but we're actually not going to multiply things back together because there'll be stuff we can cross out. All right, so I have 3 times x minus 4 times x squared. Okay, so then x squared plus 2 all over 6 x squared plus 2, and then we have times 2 times x minus 3. All right, so let's cancel out. I can cancel out this x squared plus 2, x squared plus 2. And then I can simplify this. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 6 twice. And then now we can rewrite I made a mistake here. This is supposed to be a 4, so I have x minus 4, not 3. I'm not sure what I was doing there. So then I have x minus 4 can go away, x minus 4 can go away. Notice on the top, the only thing I have left is a 1. And then on the bottom, I have this 2, but I also have this 2. So 2 times 2, which is 4. So 1 over 4. So these are multiple steps, and they take a lot. And you can easily make a mistake like I did there just by transferring the number. So make sure that you take your time with these. All right, let's look at the next page. Okay, number 10. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to factor. Okay, oops. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to factor the top and the bottom. We're going to rewrite, perform the operation, and simplify if possible, which is just crossing out. Okay, so I want you to take a minute, go ahead and pause the video to factor each of these. Okay, once you've factored, because this is multiplication, I'm going to multiply straight across. I'm not going to multiply anything back together. Just writing this all together here. Okay. All right, so now we can cross out because this is all multiplied. X plus 1, x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 2, which leaves me x minus 6 over 4x to the 5th. Okay, next one. Again, you want to take the time to go ahead and factor each of these pieces. If you're having trouble factoring, please make sure that you stay after school because I don't want to spend more time on the video explaining how to factor. I want to go through the process of multiplying and dividing these polynomials. If you factored all the pieces, then you can write them straight across the top because this is multiplication again. Okay, and then cross out. so then I am left with y plus 7, 3y minus 1. All right, at this point I'm going to stop. Actually, let's do one more. Let's do number 12, and then we're going to stop, and I'll just show you the answers, but you need to make sure that you show all the work in order to get full credit. This is a homework assignment and will be counted as a grade. Okay. All right, so the first thing, okay, so I'm running out a little bit of room. I'm not going to have enough room, so I'm actually going to rewrite this on another piece of paper. So I just went ahead and transferred this. This is number 12. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and get rid of the way that it's stacked. I think that that will help. So I'm going to write y squared minus 49 over y minus 7 quantity squared divided by, because this line right here means divided by, 5y plus 35 over 7y minus y squared. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and factor each of these. So this y squared minus 49 is the difference of perfect squares, so that's y plus 7, y minus 7. And then on the bottom here I have y minus 7 quantity squared, which can be written as y minus 7 times y minus 7. And then I have divided by, I'm going to keep that there for now. I can factor out a 5, that's y plus 7. If I factor out a 5, then on the bottom I can factor out a y, which gives me 7 minus y. All right, so we have divided by for this one, so we know we need to multiply times the reciprocal. So I'm going to just rewrite y plus 7 times y minus 7. On the bottom I have y minus 7 times y minus 7. And then I'm going to multiply times the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip y times 7 minus y over 5 times y plus 7. All right, we know when we multiply, we're just going to move these together without multiplying them back together for now, because we know that there's going to be stuff that we can cross out. Times y times 7 minus y. And then on the bottom we have y minus 7, y minus 7. And then I have 5 and y plus 7. All right, let's see what we can cross out here. I've got a y plus 7, y plus 7, y minus 7, y minus 7. The y and the 5, I know I can't do anything with those, so I'm going to go ahead and start rewriting. That y is going to come here. The 5 I can't get rid of. And then look here, I have y minus 7. So let's just go ahead and rewrite that. I have 7 minus y, but on the bottom I have y minus 7. So they're very, very close. And what I can actually do is I can factor out a negative 1. So let's look at this right here. If I have 7 minus y, I can factor out a negative 1, which gives me negative 7 plus y, which can be written with the negative on the outside, which can be written as y minus 7. So let's take a look at that again. Don't forget you have a negative on the outside. So I have negative y, and then how we rewrote y minus 7 over 5, and then I have y minus 7. So sometimes if the signs are flipped, okay, you can actually divide out a negative 1 in order to adjust the signs. You're not really changing the problem, you're just factoring out a negative 1, which now these can be eliminated. So my final answer for this one is going to be negative y over 5. That one's pretty intense. So just remember again that you can always factor out a negative 1 in order to switch the signs, especially you want to look at that when you have something in the denominator that maybe, or the numerator that could be factored out. Okay. All right, so for the rest, I'm just going to go ahead and put the answers up to get full credit for the homework, though you do need to work out each solution. But I'm going to put up the answers so you can at least double check your work. All right, so for number 13, your final answer is going to be 1 over 4x plus 1 That's divided by. So we multiply times the reciprocal, make sure everything's factored. Okay, number 14 is just a little tricky. I'll at least get you started with this one. So remember that you want to rewrite x squared plus 5x plus 6 divided by x squared plus 6x plus 9 divided by, okay, so it's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4 over 1, okay? So if there's no denominator, you know that it would be over 1. Factor, multiply times the reciprocal. You should get your final answer as 1 over x plus 3, x plus 2. And if you want to do the challenge problem, your final answer should be y minus 4, y plus 4, over y minus 3. Okay? Now we are going to be giving out candy and points for doing your homework for this unit because I want to emphasize how important it is to do this homework. So your catchphrase for candy when you turn in this homework is Go Broncos.